of elected representative. Yin Yang, Chinese they call it. In Islam, 5-6 verses. Clearly Muhammad says, this is distinct to Islam, I haven't seen the religion in the past, that God has created everything in pairs, things that you know and things that you do not know. This is the verse of democracy, if Muslims understand it. In a government, therefore, there has to be a pair, opposite but complementary. If one is missing, it will be dictatorship. Bob in his writing says, except for God, everything else is made out of pairs. Abdul says in some such questions, he says, opposite forces are essential part of the existence. Like electron, proton, mother, father, Adam, Eve, everywhere. It's just these two are there, the two forces. I call them impression and expression. So, this is a part of the Baha'i government, just as it is the part of the world order of Baha'u'llah. There is guardianship, and then there's universal laws of justice. On the 13th, he says the first house is general assembly made up of the male and female representative elected by people. The second is the house of scientocrats. The former may initiate the lawmaking mechanism by presenting ideas from personal understanding of various faith groups, while the latter utilizes scientific approaches to validate the utility of such laws. So, right now we have two houses, even in Canada. There is House of Commons and Senate. The Senate is not exactly directly elected by people, but is appointed by the elected Prime Minister. So as in England, this is as far as democracy goes. By democracy is a little bit different. There's no point for us to elect a House of 50 and we use the same mechanism of simply we like them so we elect them, and there's no criteria to you to choose another house again with the same procedure. It's duplicating each other. This is why they don't work well. In the Baha'i faith, because religion is according to science and logic, I call them, scientocrats or scientocracy, because they use the science. Therefore, Senate is replaced by the scientist. The second house that we have is for checking that the first house works or not. So what do we do in our life, in a factory? We make something, we make a car, a televisions, anything. We send it to the inspection line to find out that what we made, there's no mistake in it. So the lawmaking has to be the same thing. So if the General Assembly or House of Commons, elected people, coming out there, and they create a law. Well, these are the Baha'is and the non-Baha'is, and they want to say things that are not even directly into the faith of God, about a building, about a road, about creating a lake, taking care of environments or whatever, directly not into the faith. So, and they come and they say, okay, we decide to build this lake or this river or this mountain or excavate certain land, extract mining, this and that. So the second house, if they're made out of the same type of people, they're not able to inspect this. They have to be licensed inspectors for this job. Who would that be? Scientists. Scientists have to say, okay, you want to, produce this particular product in the society, we're elected on behalf of the people to make sure that this product is good or bad. And they find out, okay, smoking is bad, therefore they reject it. So if the lawmakers in the first house they do something that might be harmful to people, well, people have to have their inspectors to look at it. Therefore, it has to be a different house with different criteria, different type of people, with different function, different responsibility, different ability, different specialties. And they are scientists in the Baha'i faith, clearly. Many places it has been said. The Baha'i government uses the science and logic. Again, by science, don't narrow it to physics and chemistry. You know what Sir Rutherford used to say, physics the only science, everything else is nothing. No. Sociology, statistics, I don't know. All the branches of the science that are taught in the universities everywhere. Theology, it's all science. Different way, you know. You can call it science or you can call it art, some people do. I like to see them all science. Just different branches, you know. Of science, of knowledge, of philosophy. Even philosophy, definitely in my opinion, it has to be a scientific philosophy, as Karl Marx began this, scientific philosophy. If you're philosophizing something, trying to answer and respond to some questions that cannot be otherwise produced by the scientists, you have to use some scientific speculations, as they do right now, or else your philosophy is not going anywhere. Even imagination has to be scientific, like Jules Verne's. A lot of his imaginations, you know, came through. Scientific, you know, you have to have some basis for what you're saying. Therefore, these two elements, the opposite and equal forces in the Baha'i society, are two houses. But not like today, even in the most modern countries of the world. The second house is elected by people, but they're scientists. Or if they're not even scientists, they're working with scientists directly. Okay? Some other scientists that are hired by the first house, they could become biased. Because if they go against the house may fire them. They're afraid of the house. There has to be an independent house of scientists, all those who are working with the science. So they're elected, just like the first house. And they said to the first house, we have the same right as you do, and you can't fire us, and you can't influence us, and you can't change us. So we're saying that, no. What you have proposed is not right, it has to be changed. We're not going to accept it. There has to be compromise. Situation coming. Good. Number 14. The economy of the Baha'i government adheres to the same worldwide principles that holds every economical systems together. At the same time, it may have its own distinction in terms of its elaborations and provisions. However, it defines its limits on minimum sustenance of human life, which provides housing, medical needs, and other necessities. All products and services are approved by the scientific arm of the government. Such economical system may vary from capitalistic system to socialistic adaptation. It may be private or publicly run. I like to see that myself for a good economy, that the entire economy be in the hand of people. Call them capitalist. The limits are set by the first house. Tells them that, you can become rich this far. The other people, they will have to have everything, and then once they are provided, you can go on for your life and become richer and richer and richer and richer and richer. And some might want to do. Government should not own this any system, because government people, when they're working hourly wages, they do not have that incentive to work. But then you're saying that, okay, capitalists, they will do any damn things to make money. No, no, no. The house will prevent that. The house will control them. And this house who limits these laws and desires of the people, their desires also checked by the scientocrats. Otherwise the Senate, scientocrat replacing the Senate. So they're going to say that no. There are things that you cannot make in order to be rich. If you think, oh, you can make condom, we cannot allow it. it's harmful to human being, and our law goes with the science and logic. So Baha'is, local laws of justice, national laws of justice, they do not directly influence the Baha'i government, but indirectly they do. Because all the Baha'is in their heart and their soul, they are obedient to the national laws of justice. Within its limitations though, remember. Everything has a limit. For example, universal laws of justice cannot order me that I should not be a Baha'i. There's no such things. Okay, if such thing comes, I will complain to the universal laws of guardianship. Okay? And I'm allowed to accept, not accept on either of them. But I cannot do anything about it till I wait the next houses they come in and they change their opinion. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm bigger than both of them. You know, it's possible. So, the economy in the Baha'i faith is pretty much like, we can say in Canada and some of the countries like Sweden or Switzerland or some of the places. They're still not good because they're not covering everything, and they have, you could be without job. In a Baha'i government, I explained that before. For example, I'm not dictating it, but I'm suggesting not to work, it's forbidden. It's prohibited. Everyone has to have a job. So if the factory cannot have thousands of people working, they have to cut down their wages. They say from 20 we're coming $15. We're keeping the rest. If it's not possible, from 40 hours we drop down to 30 hours, but everyone has to work. One cannot just go. This might become hard to the owner of the factory and the factories. Therefore, my suggestion is the suggestion of Abdul Baha. Create the factory, let everyone who works in it to own the factory. They are the owner of the factory. There might be big investors on the top, but they own it. Well then, what the positions and fights about the strikes and everything else? It's your own. If you made money, charge $20 right now, and at the end of the year, if extra money came, it'll be distributed between the members. Or it could be kept into the saving account of the company. But Bob says everyone has to be in business for himself, he says. He likes that. So how do we do it in the big corporations? Very simple. The corporation is owned by all the people that are working on it. This is really the kind of ownership that Abdul Baha recommends, and I strongly recommend. Because this feeling that, hey, I'm not making enough money is out of order. It's your own business, you see. All of you have to work to make it better. Who runs the factory? You're choosing your own CEOs and everybody that you want, the manager, general manager, this and that, by vote. So it's a little government of its own. You know, some speculations. And it could be totally based on the population of the nations or the accommodation they have. It could be totally a communist system, a communist economy. You know, it's totally socialistic. But go to the point it becomes totally communist if people decide that entire government, entire wealth and everything is to be owned by the government. If that's the choice of people, that's fine. But it's essential is that everybody has to have everything they want, you know. They should want, they should have. If not, something has to be changed. But if they want free enterprise, let them go, let them do it. Okay, element 15, number 15. There will be a national army that deals with the natural disasters and environmental protections of the nature and people against each other. Sometimes people hurt nature, sometimes nature hurts people. But there's no army, but there is a seriously important army that deals with the nature. People always say Mother Nature. I say Father God. This Mother Nature is a bastard sometimes. It kills a lot of people. It destroys. It produces AIDS. It produces all kind of things. Things can come from the right into space tomorrow. Who knows? The fear of unknown, which we don't care about, is the biggest things. So environmentalists, the army is an environmentalist, such an army that you cannot even believe what they do in those government in the future. The entire universe is protected. Just all kind of things will happen to us in future. As we grow, the problem becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. You never thought the virus, they may come from space. They might. You know, there has been amino acids coming from space that are different from ours. Who knows what else might happen? These are all the work of environmentalists. Flood comes, disaster comes, immediately they go. They take care of the situation. They take care of the production of viruses, this and that. They're a big branch of the government, this army of the environmentalists, that they make sure people are not. And an environmentalist in the future in government, you cannot dispose a can of aluminum. It's all marked. It's just like money. You can't dispose it. Every one of them has a number. You could use it, but you have to take it back. If you don't, it's very hefty fines. Earth cannot produce aluminum. Well, trees are renewable, not aluminum. It takes God forever to make it. Gold, uraniums, this kind of things. We have so many needs in the future that we have to use different sources of energy. We can't even use the uranium to create electricity. I disagree with it. There's sun. You have to turn this sun into electricity and anything you want. Keep the uranium. There are other needs for it later on. Anything like that, okay? So environment is a big, big part of the future. And so is number 16. I say national policing provides order and security. In every government will have policing. And those polices are very different from today's polices. Very different. They're basically psychologists. They get into the area, they can assess so very well what's happening. With a policeman, a psychologist goes right around. Right now when you call the police, firefighters, they come in, I don't know, ambulance comes in. But with the police, immediately either himself or the psychologist is around, other people are there to assess the situations. And they're extremely big time powerful with a reference to the nerve. You're not going to make them angry, those people. Very difficult. They're coming, we're all sensed, that they're coming from a very kind individual, kind family. There's no anger in their life. They're tested that they can't get angry. Because anger, it's basically when you're angry, you're falling down. Your system is gone. Somebody was telling me, they call me Tony. I says, Tony, what do I do with this anger? I told him, go hear some of my videos. I told him an angry person is building a house of cards, reasons, because it happened. Crack a good joke in any possible way that you know. Make that person in that statement of anger to laugh. Break the house that she's made. Then she'll become sad, of course, because the anger is gone. Then you have to find out, okay, what was the reason? And find the reason and try to fix it after. But not in a state of anger. How deal with it? Deal with it, seriously cracking jokes. You have to know the person who is getting angry all the time, what made the person to laugh other time. So create that situations and make the person completely not being able to control herself or himself and laugh. Once they laugh, the house of anger is broken down. There are many methods anyways. So, and number 17, I've written is, human right and expressions are absolutely free until such time the lawmakers and the scientists, the two houses, define limitations in the interest of of protecting citizens against infringement. They're free, but you cannot infringe the right of others. If you want to have sexy magazines, right on the neighborhood, magazine parlor, and my 12 years old child going back there and looks at those bodies, then you're asking me questions, you're creating job for me? You're not allowed. Because scientists, they can tell you at age 10, 12, or even 6 or 7, whatever, they should not see these things. Children should not. It's premature. Creates confusions. It's not allowed to confuse people. By religion, by expression of thoughts, everything else. Abdul-Baha says, in the Baha'i faith, expressions of thoughts, freedom of thoughts is absolutely there, but it should not be infringing upon the right of others. I can't say freedom of expression and go yelling and screaming in public what people say. What about my ears? What about things that I don't want to listen? You know. So there is places for those people, probably, because just as you could use your own house and you could be anything doing in your own house, even in your house, as long as, you know, you're single, probably, there would be places for the singles where they can do all their things, but they're not in public. Public and the government will not lead people in any which way to go to those places, those part of the cities. You know, they could be outside of town, for example. But there has to be there. Because if it is not there, it is not telling us as a government we're doing good or bad. If people in our Baha'i government keep going to those places, that means the Baha'i government is not doing its job. That means the National Assemblies and National House of Justice is not doing their job. They're not able to attract people. They're boring. They're not out there. Religion, big part of it is entertainment. If it is not there, people get attracted to other things, you know. Simply saying, I'm preventing it is not going to help. It comes out from the other places. So literally in the Baha'i government, you can go buy heroin. Or any of the damn things you want. Society is so strong, and the people are so smart, but there is no room, there's no market for those things. I was in India once. Indian, they have a great freedom, you know, a lot of things. Once I was in Goa, I don't know, Panjim, Goa. This friend of mine took me there with a bike. I saw all the people are naked in the beach, you know. Some of them even had sex. Nude beach. And I see this Indian man is selling, you know, ice cream among them. He's not even excited about anything that he sees. All he wants to do is sell his. I said, look, freedom and people are not interested in it. In India, probably could buy any damn things you want. Heroin, hashish, I don't know, teriyaki, opium. But people are not into it. They just can't afford it, they don't like it. We have to create an environment that our product, our life, our procedures, our philosophy, our whole thing is so beautiful, it's not comparable to any bad things. But those places have to be there. Why? Because it's telling us that we're not doing well. Persian, they say the wound is better to be coming up from under the skin. If it's an open wound, we know it. But if it is under, that's a big problem. Surely we are doing a lot of wrong things in our life as a government, as a society, as whatever. So what's the reaction to that? They will stay within. Then the people become deviated spiritually. They're jealous, they're cruel, they're doing all kinds of things. But if there's freedom, They can go 2 kilometers outside of town to a bar or something they want. Let them go. So freedom is totally there, but as long as it does not infringe upon the right of the other people. Other people cannot dictate you. What are you reading? You can read what you want. Nobody's supposed to come to see what you read. But if you want to make a show, that book is becoming a show right now in the streets where people can see. This is where infringement is coming. You know what I mean. And those things will be. These are a few elements that I speculated that becomes a part of the future government. Now, if you elaborate these things furthermore, as a Baha'i, then we have a good picture. This is what we're teaching now, and that's our final product. A lot of people would come into it. Remember, it is not becoming a politics. In the Baha'i faith, there is no politics. Government does not run with the different politics. People are just voted based on their own personal merit. And there's already a Baha'i constitution in the center. And how they operate and go there, they're bad, next year you change them. Okay. All right. Time is 12:17. May Baha'u'llah be with you. I think I'm concluding the 6th relationship that we have in our nation. I'm going to go to the last one on the next sessions, which are our relationship with our planet. There are a lot of writings in that. I'll take a few videos in explaining that, and I'm concluding the whole program. Something that I was supposed to do it next year, but thanks to not having too many jobs this year, economy was bad, so I had the time. But at the same time, since I know the policy of God, God is telling me that He wants these things to be told faster. Now, what He wants to do after is pretty difficult. But I know you have 1 full year now after this to respond and to do something, okay? I've got few calls here and there. Not enough. Not enough. Not at all. I'm not a lonely person that there are not people around me. There are too many people. I'm lonely between the people, more lonely. I'm looking for people that they're loving the planets. They're loving humanity. They're loving progress. They understand the meaning of life. And they're tired of money making and having sex in the bed. They just want to do something else. Something different. They're bigger stomach, you see, for different dimensions to it. I'm one of them. I'm looking for them. I haven't found anybody yet. Okay, see you.